Hi, and welcome back to another episode of Super Fast Income Podcast. Today with me, Dominick and Nicole Draper, the voiceover couple. Hi,
Hi, how you
guys.
doing?
Hi.
They started their journey in the closet and grew a business making well over 40K a year, only using a mic and their voices. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you for
Thank you,
having
thank you.
us.
I was looking forward for this episode because there are people trying to make money in all different kind of things, and they think they have to learn new technologies and get more softwares, but you just use your voice and a mic. So let's get started. How did you come up with this idea?
Well, I was always into recording. It really goes back to when I was young. I was in a rap group in when I was in high school, and so we taught ourselves to record and to use different programs. Back then, it was called Cool Edit Pro, which ended up becoming Adobe Audition,
Hmm.
which really I didn't realize 15 years later would give me a leg up in podcasting because I knew how to edit my voice already. So fast forward to college, I went to college for radio. I ended up leaving college and just working for a couple radio stations. But my mom made a suggestion about some marketplaces online like Fiverr to possibly make extra money on the side because I
Hmm.
had the equipment to do it. So I just started doing it in 2017, and then I brought my wife on because she's a musical theater minor in college, and so she was doing plays and has the acting side. I had more of the radio side, and so we kind of combined those. I taught her how to edit, and we just started doing work on Fiverr, and it started to pick up.
Yeah.
And by the time we knew it, I was making the same amount a year that I was making at my normal 40-hour a week job.
Yep.
So once the pandemic hit, my job slowed down, and they gave me time to work on the business side of growing that. And the wife made the suggestion that I go full time and grow it, and the rest is history.
Yep. We were just we had just gotten married, and it was like awesome having the extra income as a newly married couple, broke, we're trying to just make some extra money. And so when his mom suggested that, it was a godsend, and we never thought it would lead us to here,
For
to now.
sure.
Tell me a little bit about the early days. How did you went on these new platforms online and you started to promote yourself. So how was it?
It was, I mean, in the beginning, you don't really know what to expect. I really had no expectations. So I just was like, oh, okay, this is cool. I've always know how to record myself. I can use my voice in different ways. I do have a little bit of technical training for using my voice. So, it wasn't really any expectation. But when I got on there and we put our demos up, what helped is Fiverr is not a site where you necessarily need to have experience. I just
Right.
created my own demos by finding scripts online
Yeah.
of demo commercials. I made like 3 or 4. She made like 3 or 4. We posted them, and people started to order, which is cool.
Fun fact, one of the demos, my first demo that I did, is like the most requested to this day.
Yeah,
Remember the radio one?
the
Like,
radio,
good
yeah.
morning, it's your girl Nikki in the morning.
And it's like the
Literally,
oldest
it's the
demo we have.
oldest demo with the crappiest mic that we
Yeah,
had. And it's like the one requested thing today. So that's kind of cool.
yeah.
And so the business started to pick up. And what happened then? Like, when did you realize it was a real
Hmm.
business?
I think when I realized I think when we looked at what we were making a year, and every year from 2017 to 2020, what we were making a year online was doubling.
It was
And by the
increasing.
time we
Yeah.
got to 2020, and I had, 2020 is really when it kind of exploded because with the pandemic, there was so much need for digital media. We ended up running into bigger companies on Fiverr. And once we had got enough jobs and real bookings under our belt, we started to get courted by different agencies and things like
Yeah.
that. But I think the real turning point was when we went to eVocation. Actually,
Yeah, it was.
we went to that conference. We went to like an online conference for
Voiceover.
voiceover, and we were able to meet a lot of people and get mentors and get people that guided us really where we needed to go when it came to knowing what we should be being paid and how our website should look, all that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's what I was.
Yep.
Got it. So what advice would you give to someone that want to give it a go like you did?
I would say continue to know your worth and don't sell yourself short just because you're trying something out for the first time. If you're good and you have experience with acting, um, make sure that you know, take the time to look at the GVAA rate guides to know what you should be paid. Don't do anything for free, and please don't do anything for $5.
Yeah. Well, I would
Well, if
say
you do something for free, it's practice, I guess.
since the advice is for somebody who's a beginner, my beginner advice would be kind of like get connected to the community. Like, you know,
Educate yourself.
educate yourself. The biggest learning curve in voiceover is the editing part.
Yeah, I would say that.
A lot of times you have people with great voices, and we do consultations with people who want to get into the industry, and they have great voice, but they really don't have any type of editing technical background. That's
Yeah.
something that is like was a blessing to have in my pocket.
We got
because
lucky, for
It gave
sure.
me the ability to make money almost right away, where some people need to go to classes or learn how to edit. The cool thing is we've built a community of other voiceover artists over the years. So I know other voiceover artists who teach classes about audio editing in a 4-week span.
Yeah.
So they teach you only what you need to know, all on Zoom, so that you can fast track and start making money. So what I would tell people who want to get into voiceover is reach out to people who are doing what you want to do, like they do. We get messages all the time. Ask questions. Don't be afraid.
Invest in your craft.
Yes, network. You know what I mean? Get the information before you start spending money, though.
Yeah.
Before you get money on equipment, make sure you know you've talked to people and you've done the research, so that you're not wasting time and wasting money, just doing stuff on your own.
Right.
Mm-hmm. What do you think about collaborating with people in the same industry where they do the editing for you? So you do the recording and then you pay them for the editing. Is it worth it, or what?
It depends how much the job is paying, I want to say.
I guess so. Yeah, it would depend on what the person is charging to edit. That's something that I guess I've never explored, because I've always known how to edit since I was 16. So it's kind of one of those things where I would never pay for that, because I can get it out. I can record and edit something in 15, 30 minutes, as in waiting for somebody for me would be excruciating.
So one of our mentors, her sister, does editing, like all of her edits.
But people
she
do
just
it.
like auditions, sends it over, and her sister edits it for like $20. For I think like maybe 10 or something like that.
I'm not sure her rates at all.
Yeah, well, she told me before. But there are people out there to handle that piece for you. But it's really, really important for you to like invest in your craft and understand sound as well. So many times when I first started, I didn't understand like the ratio of the microphone, of how close I'm supposed to be, or the sounds that my mouth makes. I have to be mindful of all of those things, because it makes editing harder when you don't know those things.
So true. The same with podcasting, isn't it? And so how much can someone expect to earn based on their experience level? So beginner, intermediate, and professional.
Okay, wait. So I'm not gonna lie. The first job that you ever did, and I ever did, was like $10.
Yeah, so so to answer your question, it really kind of depends on a lot of factors. The voiceover industry is just like anything dealing with talent. You have to be careful with who you're working with. There's going to be people all the time that are going to get something for nothing. I mean, any companies, we get hit up all the time by, AI companies that want you to do all these words and create a voice for all this little bit of money, and they're going to make a bunch of money off of your voice. And it's like, you just have to know. So that's why it goes back to getting involved with the community, because we had people tell us, hey, make sure you're not lowballing yourself, because you hurt the overall industry. So like when we first got on Fiverr, we were charging 20 cents a word, which is a good starting place, but some people on there don't have the same confidence or to wait for the right thing. So they're doing 1,000 words for $10, which
that kills.
It's not, and then it's also the licensing rights side. So there's two sides to gaining money. There's labor and the editing, and then there's the licensing rights. And that's where the money is really made, because if it's on national TV, you're going to get paid much more than if it's on local radio.
Yeah.
So there's a range.
And you can get paid again.
Remember
with Adobe, they came back and paid for
right.
Can you expand a little bit?
Yeah, so you get paid again based on the term length of the contract. And that's why it's important not to sign contracts where you're giving away your rights for in perpetuity. Or now we will give the rights away to companies for like their organic socials, like something that's not being pushed digitally in some fashion, or paid advertisement. But if it's paid advertisement, it usually needs to have a contract term on it. So 1 to 2 years. The more years, the more they pay. Some people, they do want to do a buyout. That's like a negotiated, much bigger price. But you know, I mean, we've went from making, I think now we're in the 6-figure range a year as a company.
Yeah.
But it definitely, there's a lot of space for growth. You just have to know and be careful with who you're working with, because people will always try to take advantage.
Mm-mm. So what would be a good contract for someone just starting out and trying to navigate, the contractual side of things?
Just starting out, I mean, we kind of just started out with the smaller local stuff. So like of course we have the work that we want to do on TV, and that's the jobs that we get through our agents.
Yeah.
But we do a lot of work for, small mom and pop businesses who
use your resources around.
Yeah, who just have a video and they say, hey, we like your voice. So the price we might charge them is not going to be the price we might get charged for a bigger company, because we do work for the smaller businesses. And that's where we started. I mean, I think it was, the first one was a concert in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I mean, I didn't know what to charge them. They got off on a radio commercial for like $15. But at the end of the day,
it was like 10, wasn't it?
It was like $10. Yeah, it was super low. And then Fiverr took 20% of that. So it really was like $8 at the end of the day.
$8.
Oh, no.
But I had no clue. I was just happy to hear myself when I turned into their online radio to hear it. I was excited to hear myself on the radio.
Yep.
But I mean,
Oh,
I think
cool.
people need to just come out not overcharging, because you don't want to do too much when you don't have any jobs behind your back.
True.
But as you start to get work, the prices do need to change a little. Like I said, I think a good starting point is 20 cents a word. And I mean, that gets you $20 for 100 words.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
And I think that's kind of a fair place for.
And you can go up as you get more experience.
Yeah, right. And then we probably charge about 40 cents a word now, but also that rate,
it fluctuates.
Depending on the budget. Yeah, we have some companies that are like, hey, here's this job. I mean, I did a 30-second commercial for 2 30-second commercials for Prize Picks, and that paid me $10,000. You know what I mean? And that was something that I was like,
from $10 to $10,000.
Yeah, that was something but because they had the budget for it, and they wanted to use it on social media, they wanted to use it on TV, they wanted to use it on YouTube advertising. So it was a lot of different places they were putting it.
Mm-mm. So the price will change based on the platforms and the use they do.
And how many people are going to see it. So if it's like national or worldwide, the more eyes, the more money they have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
What time of the negotiation you will realize this? Or can some of them not disclose it and just negotiate a cheap price and then something like this?
They do that all the time.
They try to. I think for me, it's like, if you don't have any type of terms, usually I haven't run into anybody just wanting to. I've run into some people just wanting to pay a price. But, the terms, they usually give the terms, but the terms are just not good. I haven't run into anybody trying to keep terms a secret, because nobody will really do the work for that. Like, it's kind of like, well, you're obviously being shady in some fashion. Yeah. But negotiating, it really was kind of a thing that kind of, like, I would say, changed over time as we learned
for sure
from people.
Yeah, you get better at it as you go on. But there are some companies that, like, you'll have like a Nike on Fiverr, like posing as someone else trying to get sometimes you have that. It's very far and few between, but it does happen. So do your research and you got to know what you're doing.
Yeah, I just
learned.
We just learned a lot about negotiation recently, because I just helped negotiate one of Nicole's bigger contracts for a university out here. And what they were asking for in the beginning was a large amount of spots, radio, TV, for a price that was really cheap. And then they wanted rights in perpetuity, But it was tough for me as a business owner to have to turn that down. But it was one of those moments where I had to kind of be smart and not look at the price tag and realize that, okay, this is more money than we're used to seeing at one time.
Right.
But for what they're asking for, it's astronomically low.
Right.
For what they were, and then I wasn't willing to do the rights for whenever. So, because I don't want to hear my voice 5-10 years down, or hear my wife's voice 5-10 years down the road, and know that we gave them, advertising for the next decade, and we got paid a very small amount. The cool thing was, I very professionally turned it down, and was stuck to our guns on what we wanted to do. And they ended up, we still gave them a good discount, but they ended up coming back with a 1 to 2 year contract, which was much better. So, that way, if they love my wife's voice, at the end of 1 to 2 years, they'll have to pay it again.
Yep.
For the usage fee.
So those are things that you learn as you go,
for sure.
And like, I know what I bring to the table. So I need to not, I have to know my worth and not count myself out, even
Yeah.
if I'm new at this.
Don't devalue yourself.
Yeah, don't do
your
that.
business,
Yeah, for
especially
sure.
I mean with the type of clients we have had under our belt, especially now. So
Yeah, for sure.
What are the funniest requests you got so far?
The funniest.
the funniest.
Okay, can I tell my sneeze story?
Oh yeah, that was weird. But yeah, go ahead.
When we first started voice acting, people would just like ask me, like on Fiverr specifically on that platform, people would ask me for like weird things sometimes.
Fetish stuff.
Yeah, and so one guy, I didn't know though. So one guy asked me to like sneeze a few times. And I was like, I think that this is some type of fetish.
We didn't realize till after it was already delivered,
know.
but it was like we looked it up online. It was like, oh man, this is like some type of weird.
Yeah, it was some type of weird thing. So you gotta be careful of that, because some people, I mean, unless you're cool with sneezing,
Yeah,
whatever.
a lot of weird sexual stuff on Fiverr sometimes.
Because it's an open marketplace, and people could say like, oh, I'm doing this for a video or whatever. So just, be careful with that.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think there is a market also for adult content, like for voiceover, isn't it?
100%.
So when you start to, get some sort of traction, how do you organize the work compared with someone that is just starting out?
question.
What's the difference? Or what kind of tips you can go to someone that is ready to go one step further?
So honestly, like you mean like take the next step in when they start to actually get some work. Well, the next step is to really start investing in training and education. So like going to some of the voiceover conferences. I went to Voiceover Atlanta in a couple times. Me and the wife went the first time. I went by myself one time. Go to voiceover conferences online, getting plugged in with the Facebook groups, the social media groups of voice actors, because really the community is super inclusive.
Very.
It's much different than being an on-stage actor or being an on-camera actor where you got to go to this audition and see all the people you're up against. Voice acting is we do this from home. We send the audition off, and we get the job. So there's a lot of support for each other. There's a lot of information sharing. There's a lot of trying to give each other tips to protect each other in the business and help. So, I mean, it was really for us, what brought us to the next level was getting with our mentor, another voiceover artist named Gina Scarpa. She's another big time voiceover artist. Gina. And she she really met with us online and helped, listen to our demos and gave us feedback.
She invested in us.
She really did. So, and there's people that do that.
And we didn't even know her.
Right.
That's the cool thing.
Right. And now we try our best to do that for others. So but really after that it was investing in the equipment. So once we started to get bigger jobs, we had to change from being in a room in the corner of our room. And I had enough editing skills to kind of do what I needed to do to make make the audio sound good. But to really get the big jobs for the big companies, they want raw audio in a sound treated room. So we ripped out this used to be our walk-in closet.
Yeah.
And we ripped it out. It was a good it was like 5x6 in here. We ripped it out. We got somebody to actually do on Zoom. They took the measurements and they gave us where we needed to put all the sound tiles and everything. So
all that's investment, right? Yeah. Like you find a space in your home.
But you do that once you're at a place where like we knew, okay, now we're making money. I think I got paid my big Yahoo job, and we went and bought a microphone right away. And started to process of changing things out, because when you start to do things with like the big companies like Google, like Nicole did, they don't want any type of post editing. Sometimes they want nothing but raw audio,
and they want the audio to sound great
for sure.
And so how do you know when you have a good voice for becoming a professional voiceover? Where do you start?
For me, it was always people telling me that I had a good voice.
Not for me. Actually, I hated the sound of my own voice.
But you've always had a good voice, though.
I don't know. I just feel like when you start with your demos, listen to how you sound on your demos, you can automatically tell if it's good. Because I will say, we've had people send us stuff, and I'm like, this isn't your lane.
Yeah, it's good to, it's good to get people's feedback, because the hard thing is like hearing ourselves always sounds different. Like there's times I hate the sound of my own voice.
Me too.
But people, people think, they love it. But I think a lot, everybody I've ever talked to in the voiceover industry has always said people always tell me I should be in radio, or people always tell me
Yeah,
I
I
should
hear
do
that
this.
a lot too.
But I mean, even outside of that, there's so many genres in voiceover. So you can have a very wacky and weird different voice and be great for animation, or be great for this side of voiceover. You don't necessarily need to have a booming voice or a very warm commercial voice. You could be, you can have a high pitched scratchy voice, and there could be jobs and money out there
So
for
you
you.
have to find your niche, right? You
For
have to
sure.
find where you're good at. So me, it's e-learning, which makes sense because I was a teacher, right? So like use your experience and like try to translate that into like, okay, what is the best avenue for me in voice acting?
For sure.
Maybe it's not animation. Maybe it is e-learning. Maybe it's commercial. Maybe
Yeah.
it's whatever, like
Yep.
promo.
I tell people, especially people who want to get into it, when you start to look online for scripts where you want to make your demos,
Yeah.
you do the genre of voiceover that best fits you first.
Yes.
If you sound good on commercial, start out there. If you want to do an animation, you do funny voices, start out there. Whatever.
And
practice.
Practice.
So how do you practice? Like how many hours per day do you allocate to practice?
I mean, I think we
do
try
it
to
so
do like
much.
10 to 15 auditions a day. So we're kind of always practicing.
Yep. So that's a lot of practice.
Yeah. Between the jobs we have to submit, or the work that we have to do and the auditions, I guess we're always practicing. I really don't find a time where I'm like, I'm just going to go on here and create something that's not due, because there's always work to do.
Well, sometimes like I'll read a script, and I'll listen to how I sound, and I'm like, I don't really sound good on that. I'm gonna pass on this.
Yeah.
Like you have to know.
Certain auditions, you're like, this is not for my voice.
Not for me.
But we do actually, one of our agents, one of our management groups has a inclusive group where they take everybody that's under this same management group. We have practice sessions sometimes. So we'll get on Zoom with a voiceover coach who's like a special guest coach, and we'll actually practice read scripts for like real for real casting directors and
we've
stuff.
done coaching individually as well, like with people who are more seasoned into the industry. So that's another thing, like coaching. Never think that you can't learn. Like you never stop learning. You are learning constantly.
And we'll probably still do more coaching, especially for different areas of the of voiceover that we want to explore. Like, okay, cool, we're good in commercial, we're doing good in this. Well, maybe we want to get more into animation. Promo is another area that we want to get into more. So we did promo coaching last year. So
yep, and we booked the gig with a startup network.
Yep, we did. So that's always learning. That's the one thing about voiceover. Yes, you're always learning.
Never stop learning.
So what are the biggest or most profitable niches in voiceover?
Promo.
Or voiceovering. How do you say voiceovering?
I say promo.
I say commercial. Promo is very niche-y and hard to get into.
Yeah, but I'm saying he asked like, what's the most profitable? Because that's a consistent, regular.
Well, it can be. It all depends on the contract. It can be a one-off like we did, or it can be somebody who's the voice of the Today Show, who's got new jobs every week. So it all depends. I would say, profitable is, national TV. National TV commercials are always the top because anything that's on broadcast or even worldwide stuff is the best. But yeah, TV commercials is probably the most profitable because it's the ones that's, especially if you get a commercial that's reoccurring. Like here, we got a guy, the Burger King guy. You hear the same commercial all the time. So if you happen to hit a commercial that does well and they continue to use it for years and years, then that can be a great.
Like when they say we want you to be the voice of something. I have a very tragic story about that. But anyway,
you were gonna
go ahead.
Listen, okay, all right. I'll go ahead. Story time. So basically, should I say the company or no?
You can.
Okay, so I auditioned for Starry Soda, and it basically, if you don't know, Starry Soda is a rebrand of 7-Up. It's like the new, thing. And so they're like, yeah, I'm in the session. I booked it. I'm in the session. They're like, you're going to be great. You're going to be the voice of Starry Soda. It's going to be great. And Dom brings me home flowers. He brings me home Starry Soda. And like, we celebrate. And the next day, no, was it that night? I felt like it was later that night. I got an email from my agent. And she was like, I'm so sorry, but they decided to go in another direction.
They basically decided to, the client had decided to use the commercial with no voiceover instead of the commercial with voiceover.
I was like, get that shit out of my house. No Starry Soda. No Starry Soda for anyone.
Dear.
Sorry, Soda, you can still hire
Yeah.
me if you hear this.
So story like this is seriously it touchy, right?
Yes.
Yes.
That you realize. But what about attaching your voice to a brand? How do you feel about it? Because it's basically transferring your personality somehow to a brand, and you have no control over that brand, especially in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years time.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the good thing about having those term contracts is we're attaching our voice to a brand, but it may be only for a time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes it's for a certain campaign or it's for a certain reason, but it's not always a situation where, we're worried about attaching it to a brand. Now, if it's a brand that's like, you know, controversial, maybe there's certain jobs like right now we're in political season and, in the United States, which is always super charged up. So, there may be certain political ads that we won't touch because it deals with certain issues or different problems. You do have to be careful. Obviously, if we get, a request from some company that's, not good for our brand, we won't take it. So,
Yeah, we're very careful about protecting our brand. I think protecting your brand is super, super important. And if it does not align with that or your values and what you believe, then don't take it. There will always be something else that comes up. Um, that's another form of advice. I would say another thing is like don't just jump to take any job. Look at the terms, look at the script, look at the copy, because a lot of times I would accept jobs on Fiverr without even reading the copy and then go to the person and say, "Oh yeah, I can't do this."
yeah.
And that's
Like
not
certain
great.
things don't fit with our values or,
Mm.
certain overtly sexual things,
Yeah.
or, like sometimes there's audiobooks or things like that that have scenes, some things that, that won't just fit our family brand,
Yeah, yeah.
and
Right.
how we want our company to look.
Yeah.
For sure.
So what are the best places to find all these opportunities online?
So we started, like we said, we started on Fiverr. Fiverr is a good place to start because it's free to create a profile. It's the only thing they do is charge you 20% per job that you get, but it's free to go on there and start posting.
I would definitely start there.
Yeah, Fiverr. I mean, that's the only marketplace that I know of that is free to just get on there and start making money.
I mean,
right away.
there's like Upwork. There's
Upwork's okay. Upwork's not great.
Outschool. There's Voices 123.
Well, see those ones. So once you get the Fiverr, then and you start making money there,
Those are pay to play.
then you can go to like the other pay to play sites like voices.com, Voices 123.
Yeah.
Those are the difference between those and Fiverr is we go on Voices, which has been great for us,
Yeah.
but we audition for work on there.
Yeah.
And now Voices has higher paying work, but it's going to cost you $500 a year
Yeah.
to be on their platform. Voices is going to cost you around the same, if not a little bit more a year. And they still take about 20% of any job that you get.
Which,
but,
I mean, any agent takes that.
Yeah, agents take that too. So, but Voices has high paying jobs on there. I've done NBA teams. I've done NHL teams.
NFL,
I've
yeah.
done, the voices.com has the like legit business people on there as opposed to Fiverr can be a little bit of the wild, wild west when it comes to who you're working with.
I would say there's no harm in starting there. I feel like Fiverr is a bit of a curse word in the voiceover community for some people because of what Dom was talking about of people just like lowballing for projects. It ruins the industry when you do that. So, if you're not fair with your pricing, we're fair. We go off of the GBA rate guides, then you're sabotaging everyone if you if you don't do it right.
And so what are you now, and what do you think yourself, like, where you're going to be in the future?
I mean,
sky's the limit.
Yeah, things change all the time. I mean, we've had a good start to the year. I think we're getting ready to actually MC our first conference. So we've been booked to do a local conference here called Social Media Day, which is going to be for business owners, content creators, and we've been booked as the MCs for that. So that's the new.
And they pursued us, which was so cool because that's never happened before.
Nicole got some awards this year for Businesswoman of the Year in our state. So it's been cool from that standpoint. We're now moving into also doing some nonprofit work. So we're going to be exposing voiceover work to underprivileged youth in around our area and other minorities who may not realize that they can actually be in voiceover, because there's a lot of kids in voiceover that are making a lot of money in voiceover. I mean, we have a 4-year-old who is very good at speaking already at his age, and where he's interested in getting into that. So there's a lot of black and brown kids and kids in underserved areas that don't have realize they have access,
Yeah.
or that this is even a viable job that they can do. And a
Yeah.
lot of them already have recording equipment because they want to be in music, they want to be rappers, they want to do different things, and they teach themselves what they want. Well, maybe you can jump on Fiverr, or maybe you can find a way to hone your skills and to make money for your family. So
Yeah.
it's been something for us that I think has been a generational, that could bring us generational wealth.
For sure.
We could, God willing,
And bring communities.
Yeah, God willing, do voiceover until we're in our old age, because there's always voices needed for every age group.
Yep.
So that's something that we want to expose to people who really need it.
That's awesome. How can our audience stay in touch with you and keep following your work?
Well, they can follow my lovely wife at Nicole Draper VO on Instagram, Facebook. We have the Voiceover Couple on Instagram, the voiceovercouple.com. Then we have I'm Dom Draper VO on all platforms. But yeah, go to our website, www.thevoiceovercouple.com. All of our social links are there, and feel free to reach out. We have a coaching link tab on there
Consultation
for people who want information on how to get into voiceover. We can't guarantee you success, but we can give you all the information that you need to find out.
It's important to say that, seriously.
Yeah, because people
have expectations, and I'm like,
yeah, we're not, some people don't realize how that voiceover is not something that everybody can do. But it is something that many people can do and don't realize they can do.
Like, there are so many people who speak for a living. Like, maybe you're, doing presentations at work. Maybe you're, a teacher like me, who knows? But you just got to try it. And maybe somebody will say, oh, that's great. Or maybe not for you.
Yeah. But it's worth the shot. You never know.
It's worth the shot. Exactly.
I love it. Thank you so much, Dominick and Nicole, for your generosity, for sharing all these resources and tips with our audience. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us. Thank you.